Russia's continuous involvement in US elections marks a continuation of a troubling pattern that has persisted for nearly a decade.
According to information made public today by the Department of Justice, we now know that RT, formerly known as Russia Today, has moved beyond being simply a media organization. We know that RT has contracted with a private company to pay unwitting Americans millions of dollars to carry the Kremlin's message to influence the US elections and undermine democracy. RT's leadership has created and directed this enterprise.
In the run-up to the 2024 US presidential election, Russian interference once again became a focal point of concern as reports surfaced of renewed disinformation campaigns and cyber attacks aimed at influencing the outcome. This time, Russian operatives employed even more sophisticated techniques, including the use of AI-generated deepfakes and highly targeted social media campaigns designed to exploit the most divisive issues in American society, such as racial tensions and economic disparities.
The government of Russia continued to use RT to direct disinformation and propaganda. In the wake of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, RT's editor-in-chief said the company had built, quote, an entire empire of covert projects designed to shape public opinion in Western audiences.
Russia's efforts were primarily aimed at sowing discord and amplifying existing political divisions. Additionally, there were credible allegations that Russian hackers attempted to breach the digital infrastructure of both major political parties, although these attempts were largely thwarted by improved cybersecurity measures.
As today's actions make clear, we have the ability to monitor these threats, to thwart them, to identify the actors involved, and to hold the actors involved accountable. We will continue to do so.
Despite the defenses, the disinformation spread by Russia-linked accounts managed to infiltrate the public discourse, leading to widespread confusion and mistrust in the electoral process. Looking back to the 2020 presidential election, Russia's interference efforts were similarly robust. During the election, Russia focused on disinformation campaigns that supported former President Donald Trump while attempting to undermine public confidence in the electoral process. Russian trolls and bots were particularly active on platforms like Facebook and Twitter, where they spread conspiracy theories and false narratives about electoral fraud and the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the hacking attempts in 2020 were not as successful as those in 2016, there were still significant efforts to breach the digital infrastructure of political parties and government agencies, illustrating Russia's ongoing commitment to meddling in US democracy. The 2016 presidential election stands out as a particularly significant instance of Russian interference. Intelligence agencies later confirmed that the Kremlin sought to assist Donald Trump by damaging Hillary Clinton's campaign. Russia employed a combination of cyber attacks, including the high-profile hacking of the Democratic National Committee, alongside a sophisticated social media manipulation strategy. Stolen emails were disseminated via platforms like WikiLeaks, creating a media frenzy that heavily influenced public discourse. The 2016 election is often cited as the beginning of persistent Russian strategy to sow discord and erode trust in US democratic institutions, with lasting implications for American politics. The 2018 midterm elections, while less directly impacted than 2016, were not free from Russian interference. During these elections, Russia continued to spread disinformation, aiming to create confusion and mistrust in the electoral process. The focus was particularly on inflaming tensions around social issues, with efforts to influence voter turnout through misleading information. Although the scale of interference was smaller, the persistent presence of Russian efforts highlighted the ongoing threat to US electoral integrity. Over the years, Russia's tactics have evolved from direct cyber attacks to more sophisticated influence operations. These operations have increasingly relied on fake news, deepfakes, and the manipulation of public sentiment through online communities. The cumulative impact of Russia's interference has been profound, not only affecting electoral outcomes but also deepening political polarization in the US and undermining faith in democratic processes. This broader strategy of interference is part of Russia's geopolitical agenda, aiming to destabilize Western democracies and advance its interests on the global stage. The story of Russian interference in US elections is one of calculated disruption, with consequences that continue to reverberate through American politics and beyond. Bureau Report, India Today Global.